Stan Drunkenmiller may not be a household name. You may never have heard of it, but in the world of investing, he is a legend. And when legends warn about a crisis, smart people listen, especially when that legend has made a career of being right.
I see a storm coming, maybe bigger than the storm we had in 2008 to 2010. I don't know what the timing of when the markets will respond to this, but it will happen. I don't know whether it's going to happen in 1 month, 1 year, 5 years. It could be as long as 10 years, but it will happen.
Drunkenmiller, by way of introduction, is a billionaire hedge fund manager. For a time, he was a partner of George Soros. He made a lot of money. And most importantly, he has made, on average, 30% a year for his firm, Decaying Capital Management, for the past, well, almost 30 years. He also called the 2008 economic crisis, and he was probably the first to have done so. And now he says an even worse crisis may be coming because of our runaway entitlement spending. That's something not many of us want to hear about. But you know, we hear all this talk about our $16 trillion debt, our trillion-dollar deficits, how terrible it all is, and it is. But according to Drunkenmiller, that's nothing when you consider Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. I'm going to just do it this way: Medicare, Medicaid, and the unfunded liabilities that amount to as much as 200, some estimates have it lower, but as high as $211 trillion. And that's not all. The spending on entitlement programs right now constitutes, well, for all entitlements, 62% of all government spending, a figure that is projected to rise to 76% by 2040. Think of that. 3 out of every $4 being spent on entitlements. I mean, it's about enough that we're talking about here 6 out of 10. Spending on the big 3 programs alone, Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, currently make up 10.4% of GDP. 10.4% of GDP. If we do nothing to change it, the figure goes to 18.2%. 18% by 2048. By then, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are expected to take up, you ready? All of the tax revenues. Let me just put that down. It's as simple as it can be said. All tax revenue. That makes it pretty simple, doesn't it? Meaning any other spending, national defense, whatever you would like to choose amongst the potpourri of the federal budget, will have to be financed by borrowing. What's behind the looming crisis? Our aging population. According to the 2010 census, we had 40 million people in this country. 40 million people age 65 and over. 40 million. By 2040, the number doubles to 80 million folks. 80 million folks. Now, it has, to this point, been fair to blame both political parties. But it is also now, at this point in time, to say to this president, it is he who refuses to be responsible, to act, and to lead in the national interest. Because this president understands as clearly as any one of us what this means, and it is disastrous. It is, in fact, a shame that the president isn't living up to his so-called skinny but tough self-declaration. Well, everybody's going to have to toughen up if we're going to get out of this one responsibly and intelligently.